50,000 years before language was even invented. Your brain processes it before it processes words. You think language started when someone pointed at a tree and said tree. When you lie, people hear it. When you're angry, they feel it. Your ancestors used them to hunt, to mate, to dominate, to warn. Your throat wasn't designed to speak English, or French, or Mandarin. Right now, when you speak, your ancestors are speaking through your mouth. Not metaphorically, literally, every sound you make is an echo of noises that existed long before any language did. You assume that one day, humans invented words, that someone pointed at a tree and said, tree, and boom, language began. But that's backwards. Language didn't come from nowhere. It came from somewhere much deeper. It came from your throat. It came from the sounds your body couldn't stop making even when you wanted to. Let's rewind 50,000 years. You're standing in a forest with your tribe. Suddenly, a predator emerges from the brush. You don't have the word danger. You don't have grammar or syntax or the ability to conjugate verbs. But your body does something that changes everything. Your voice rises, it tightens, it elongates a single note until everyone around you freezes. That stretched vowel was not a word. It was a command written directly into sound. This is where language began, not with semantics, but with suprasegmentals. Suprasegmentals are the music underneath your words, the pitch, the stress, the rhythm, the duration that tells your listener whether you're asking a question or making a threat. Cognitive scientist Diana Deutsch has spent decades proving that your brain processes the melody of speech before it processes the meaning. You understand danger in the shape of a rising tone long before you understand the concept of danger itself. Think about your own voice right now. When you want to sound threatening, what happens? Your pitch drops. Your words slow down. The space between each syllable expands. When you're excited, the opposite occurs. Your pitch jumps. Words tumble out faster. Syllables compress into a rapid-fire cadence. Your listener doesn't need to understand your words to feel your intention. They feel it in the contour of your sound. This is precisely what your pre-linguistic ancestors did. They didn't speak words. They spoke emotions and urgency through pure vocal modulation. A mother didn't say, "Come here." She produced a particular pitch pattern that meant, "Approach me." A male didn't say, "This is my territory." He used a lower, sustained rumble that signaled dominance. These weren't arbitrary sounds. They were biologically hardwired reactions that worked the same way across every human population because they were shaped by millions of years of evolution. But here's where it gets stranger. You still do this, right now, every single day. Linguist Steven Pinker has demonstrated that approximately 60% of what we communicate happens at the suprasegmental level. Imagine someone says, "I'm fine." The words are neutral, but if they say "I'm fine" with stress on that single word and a rising pitch at the end, suddenly you know they're not fine. They're frustrated. The meaning inverted because the melody changed. Your brain extracted emotion and intention from pure vocal shape, the same way your ancestors did when they had no words at all. Before language, there was also gesture, not the hand gestures you think of, but something more primal. Your ancestors would have opened their mouths wide without sound to signal they'd found food. They'd bare their teeth to signal threat. They'd purse their lips to signal caution or doubt. These were the visual equivalents of the vocal sounds around them. Neuroscientist Paul Broca discovered in the 1860s that both speech and gesture are controlled by overlapping regions of the brain, suggesting they evolved together as a unified communication system. Speech without gesture feels incomplete. Gesture without speech feels ambiguous. Your ancestors didn't separate the two. They were one continuous flow of meaning. And then came the click sounds. If you've never heard a click consonant, imagine the sound your tongue makes when you pull it away from the roof of your mouth with force. It's percussive, it's sharp, it travels far through forest and across valleys. Some modern languages still use click consonants. Khoisan languages of southern Africa contain them. And archaeologists have found evidence suggesting that click consonants may have been among the first consonant sounds humans ever produced. Not because they were easier to say, but because they were effective. They were loud. They were distinct. They could be heard from a distance and understood across a crowded group. Your vocal apparatus wasn't designed with words in mind. It evolved to make food sounds, distress sounds, mating calls, threat displays. The same throat that produced a predator's alarm call could be shaped, refined, and eventually weaponized into consonants and vowels. But the progression was gradual. It wasn't sudden. Your ancestors spent tens of thousands of years making sounds that were simultaneously meaningful and non-linguistic. They were proto-words. They were the bridge between pure emotion and structured meaning. Thank you for listening. Project by Sticklines Move. Subscribe for more videos.